I think this is a good note for everybody out there.
He says that I don't pull well on TikTok, so
He doesn't. It's
videos
just a
with
fact.
me.
It just doesn't pull well. It's called social media for a reason, and it's not selfish media.
I just gotta clear something up. You weren't the 12th man on the field right now, right?
There is no easy way to get anything ever.
This is Mornings with Matt, the Deering Acting Studio podcast, where we discuss the connection between life and acting. Boom.
Alrighty, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Mornings with Matt on the Deering Acting Studio podcast. Today, we are talking about facing your fear. It's going to be a great episode. I want to start off with daily devotional. Bri Guy, hit it up.
Yes, sir. 2 Timothy 1:7. Bam, bam, bam. I like it.
There we go.
I'm getting used to the drum roll now. Let's go again. Take
Okay.
two. 2 Timothy 1:7. For the Spirit God gave us does not make us timid, but gives us power, love, and self-discipline. For the Spirit God gave us does not make us timid, but gives us power, love, and self-discipline. Powerful stuff.
Yeah, so it does not make us timid. The Spirit God gave us does not connect us into fear. So if we're feeling fear, if there's a fear living inside of us, which let's be honest, there's a fear living inside all of us probably at all times. There's always more to work on. But that fear does not come from God. So today we're going to be talking about what that fear means and how to face that fear and why we should really even want to face our fears. You got anything more you want to say about the Bible verse, boys?
Just a small ad of the same kind of deal with the being timid and fear. Like there are things that are of God and are not of God. And so I think it can help to remember when fear creeps in that that's not something God wants, that's not something God wants for you. And so at least for me, it's helped me in certain fear points when I can remember that it's happening, but it's not what God wants for me. And so that's why he lists some of the other things, love, self-discipline, and power. Like he gives those things to you. Mm-hmm. Like they're handed to you. That's an of God thing, right? I mean, and God is love. So when we start to realize when things that we're doing aren't of God, then it can be easier to start battling it because we realize it's part of the battle.
Yeah. And I think when we fall into our fearful behavior, I guess, that's where a lot of times the self-discipline falls short. And here it's saying, if you're living in spirit, if you're living in the way of God, the self-discipline becomes almost self-evident because you know what you want to do, you know what you should be doing, and it just sort of kind of falls into place. Mm-hmm. You end up getting excited about the self-discipline. It's a different mindset where you're not trying to power through, but you're allowing God to basically work through you.
And he can't do that when you're clouded by fear.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So we have a guest coming up this week on Thursday. His name's Kenny Weiss. He's a motivational coach. And I don't know exactly what his title is. He'll probably correct me on that. But he's personal development guru of sorts, and he wrote a book, and I'm about halfway through it right now. But I really like a lot of what he's going to say, so I'm very excited for Thursday. We don't want to miss that episode. But he talks about something in there. I'm going to get this right. It's called the worst day cycle. And it's very interesting because one of the things he mentions, and I talk a lot about this as well, but he talks about the idea of stress and fear, and how we a lot of times will label fear as stress, but it's really just fear. And why do we want to call fear stress? And it's interesting because if we call it stress, this is something that's happening to us, and we're able to be the victim. And there's not much you can do for somebody that's stressed. But if somebody says, I'm fearful of something, it's a lot easier for you to say, well, you're doing that to yourself.
Yeah.
You're bringing that fear upon yourself.
Yeah.
And so according to this cycle, what's interesting is, and I found this to be true, that we experience a trauma in our lives, many traumas, right? But some of the big ones. We experience a trauma. The trauma causes fear. So there's this cycle. So we go from trauma to fear to then, let me again, I want to make sure I get this right. Trauma, fear, and then shame, and then denial. So we go trauma, fear, shame, denial, and then what? Back to the trauma. So what we end up doing is we end up reliving the trauma in different ways. It's sort of like the person who dates the wrong person over and over and over again, and they almost keep seeking out that feeling. They need the cycle to continue. And why? It's because it's what we know. It's what our body knows and understands. He even has a very interesting theory related to health, actually, and how the way we think and feel and go through our worst day cycle creates health problems. Chronic health problems creates repeated health problems, and that we do it to ourselves, and that it's a part of the cycle of victimization of ourselves. So if we don't go back and find the trauma, what some of us will do is we'll put ourselves in this position of getting sick in order to be cared for, in order to sort of garner attention, in order to receive sort of love. And then you get through that, and then it's almost like you have to do it again. And you don't mean to, but you allow this like mental thing to happen, and your mind can make you sick.
Yeah.
And
I did that for like most of my life.
Really?
Yeah, 100%. Till that talk on the balcony with you, but everybody told me I was sick all the time.
Yeah.
We joked the other day about my dad said something to you, and you were like, what is it with your parents? And I'm like, yeah, like I was told I was sick my whole life, and then it became normal. So then I was like, my stomach's hurting, gotta lay down. Head hurting, gotta lay down.
Yeah.
And then it becomes something like you said, where it's this cycle, and you don't even necessarily realize you're doing it. You don't necessarily realize, like, that you're not that sick. Everybody gets a headache every now and then. Everybody gets a stomach ache. There are times where you have to go get help and get medicine, but not every time. And that's something really, since that talk on the balcony at the cabin, has been awakening for me, where I'm doing it less and less, and getting out of that habit of when you feel something, just saying you're sick and then being sick, because you're right. Anybody that doesn't agree or doesn't fully believe, like, he's right. Seriously.
Yeah.
Because I've seen it firsthand.
Well, and then when, you talk about the trauma, the trauma can be something that basically it's usually something that was out of your control, something that was forced upon you. So like even this stealing of your car, Joey, that's a trauma, actually. That's a trauma in your life. Now, depending on how you react to it, depending on how that trauma that you allow it to affect you will end up becoming your reality, and whether or not you end up reliving the cycle over and over again, which is one of the reasons. And I didn't even realize why I was doing it, but I knew I was trying to help you in a certain way, because I knew if you didn't approach it correctly, you would literally put yourself in a position where you would keep getting different cars stolen from you, or you would keep crashing your cars, or you would keep doing things that would destroy your vehicles, because you might have a certain belief that comes from a history, a childhood trauma about what somebody's told you about you, of what you're capable of or whatever, and you end up self-sabotaging. I had the same, talk with you when you ran into the, you crashed something in the freeway, and then you hit a tire a different time, and everybody else was like, "Oh, woe is Joey," and I said, "Oh no, not oh woe is Joey. Oh Joey, figure out why you keep hitting stuff and become a better driver, because if you can take accountability for that weird accident that happened to you, because I don't even want to say it's your fault. Like, I don't want to say it's your fault, but I want you to say it's your fault." That's what's interesting, because I don't want to be like better than you. I don't want to be telling you that like, oh, but I want you to go, how can I find accountability?
Yeah.
How can I dive into this? Honestly, face my fear, face my trauma,
Totally.
and then heal it. Because then I have control in that area where it's no longer something where I need to relive it over and over and over again. I need to have cars keep crashing on me or breaking on me or whatever, in whatever way. You'll stop leaving yourself vulnerable to that thing, and you'll begin protecting yourself because you believe something else of you, much like you now believe that you don't have to be sick.
Yeah, totally. No, that's a great point. And yeah, you definitely gave that same advice, and we talked about it. Well, I talked about it a little bit yesterday on the show, the whole car thing. So I don't want to get too far into it. But yeah, that was it took a couple of days to make the 180, but with your help and Brian's help and just getting out of it was really nice, because I didn't realize the impact it had.
Yeah.
But it was a big deal.
Well, and think about this. The 180, couple days, that's awesome. Even if it's a week, that's awesome, And then you go, okay, next time's gonna be faster, next time's even faster, and then next time there doesn't have to be a next time.
Yeah.
And that's where everything starts to change. Like I know, we've been through some things here many times over, and I was just talking about this with a student last night, and I was letting them know part of my growth has been understanding when people are going through something and they just can't be here. For whatever reason, the world has sort of moved in such a way that they need to leave. And usually they come back in some way, shape, or form back into our lives, and they're back to the studio when the time is right. And I always say it's either they need to grow or we need to grow in whatever way to be able to be in the same space. But I used to, because I have a skill, the power of persuasion, I used to try to hold on to people because I thought I could help them. I thought that this place could continue to be a saving grace for them, instead of allowing them to go when the time was right to go. And by doing that, I would inevitably cause more pain upon myself. So instead of the person just leaving in such a way that's in their own, like the way they wanted to leave with their head up high, they would end up leaving later in such a way that was not good, that was negative, that would end up they would end up wanting to leave and hurt us at the same time and not remember any of the good that happened and whatnot. And it's because I was trying to hold on to something that actually the most loving thing was to let go. So where does that come from? Where does that trauma come from? And it's interesting. I mentioned it last night. I was cheated on a few times early on, and in relationships, And that pain, that trauma affected me in a multitude of different ways that I acted out on, that I used as excuses. And if I'm realizing like, wow, that was even affecting this area, because as people leave, I would feel this sense of like betrayal or something, right? And that ugly trauma likes to try to like rear its ugly head at me again.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why it was a big deal for me to heal that, to go into that trauma, deal with it, face that fear, and then believe, repeat. Like I changed the neurochemistry in my brain. I changed the pathway, and it took a lot of work, but it's a part of me repeating. I am so happy and grateful now that I'm surrounded by only people who share my vision and values. So therefore, I'm no longer surprised when somebody leaves, because at that moment that we just can't share the same space. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's totally
That's
okay.
a great point.
Yep. And you in that time like got to do what you were meant to do, sort of, with that person. We were talking with Jeremy about this last night, about just like how sort of God moves in this way where like you just don't expect things to fall the way that they do. Like the fact that he was here and you were talking to him a little bit about this being his ministry, this being a way that he can basically pastor people through putting up art,
That
putting up
talk
really
sounds
beautiful art.
extremely familiar. Extremely familiar.
Yeah, it's true. I had the same exact thing happen with me. That was a huge fear, you know. And when I came out, like there was a obligation, sort of, even to hit what I think God was trying to do with my life, and then ended up down the wrong path because of that, because I was like focusing on the wrong thing, you know.
Yeah.
Instead of focusing on just like loving and being the best mirror of God that I could be wherever I'm at.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, speaking of him, actually, he had a very interesting story that reminded me of you, because he did end up able to speak in front of people, and you know, he just happened to grow up in that atmosphere, so it was something that was available to him. And then he felt very empty at one point, because he would be speaking of things that he knew about, had heard about from the Bible, but he had zero life experience to back it up. So he couldn't speak from experience. He wasn't speaking from his own truth. He was just sort of like regurgitating stuff, and it was very empty. And then he's like, and now I've been through all these things, and I do have a story to talk about, but I don't want to talk about it anymore. And I was like, cool. So now there's a whole nother level. And this is what's exciting. As I told him, I was like, you can heal that. And we went through some of this stuff. I said, you can heal that trauma. Then you can build up a platform where your platform might be one person. And if you could help one person, like I'm helping you right now, that's cool. But that platform can be built up. So as an actor, you could build an entire platform of many people listening to you. And now you're standing on that platform. And from that place, you want to be speaking from your pain and taking that and using it. And there's your ministry. Because he's got a lot of good things to say.
Yeah.
Really, like inspiring. I mean, I can see why he was a good pastor when he was doing that.
Yeah.
And he's got that charismatic energy. Just
Totally.
like you just want to hang out with him right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he was his private moment was him like with this guitar like singing, and it was so loud that at the front desk I was like, I'm gonna go get a social video.
Well, that's Jeremy. Jeremy was that. That was Jeremy.
Isn't that what you said at the beginning?
Jared.
You said,
Didn't I say? We're talking about.
said
I think you said
Jeremy.
Jeremy, yeah.
Did I? Oh,
Yeah.
Oops.
You meant Jared.
I meant Jared.
Ah, cool.
I meant cool hair.
All right, I'm
BC
just gonna,
basketball.
Cool.
Actually, I beat him.
I know. I know
Cool.
you did.
Cool.
That's my bad.
All right, I got a segment before commercial break.
Uh-oh.
Here we go.
Hold on.
Guess it.
Hold on. That's my face, not yours.
All right, hold up, Joey. So we do need to go to commercial break. So hold this. Hold on. Hold this up, please.
Hold it up.
So during commercial break, this will be a good chance for people to see this. All right. So there's a segment we do here called Joey Sweeney's Terrible Illustrations.
Woo!
And so everybody can take a look at this, and you get to try to interpret this yourselves. You can put something into the comments section on I think we're on Facebook and YouTube. So anything. Any take you have on this? Like, what do you think that Joey's thinking of during this drawing? And Brian and I will interpret this as well, and then we'll really find out what Joey's thinking here. So we'll start back with Joey Sweeney's Terrible Illustrations right after these messages. Right, Joey?
Right.
I chose steering because I feel like I can take everything that I've learned in acting class and apply it to the real world, to business, to interviews, and just meeting everyday people, learning how to listen better, and it's been an amazing experience so far.
I tried to explain.
I don't want you to think about getting through the monologue.
Young people.
Yes.
Let's go!
Because my job isn't to work the monologue. My job is to work on you.
It's not about how many classes are on the resume. It's about your work ethic and persistence.
Who's further along than they were when they walked in the room?
Circle up, please.
Your lives will all be changed and you'll grow if you really learn to listen in this way.
Will you help me kill her? You have to react to that from his point of view as honestly as possible.
Punch him in the face. No, you don't know nothing. Come on. I see you.
As soon as you've solved the puzzle, the scene's over.
Hey! Alrighty, welcome back, everybody. We are talking about facing your fear, and just before the commercial break, we discussed that we are jumping into Joey Sweeney's Terrible Illustrations. So based on what we've talked about today, Joey has drawn something up. Now, first of all, I want to compliment you, Joey, because I can see very clearly the drawing.
Yes.
You
yes.
got
You
through
took the
that
critique.
thick skull of
Nailed it.
mine.
Yeah, and you were humble about it. You know, not braggadocious in any way. You found a way to get to the other side here, and you planned something better where you used a marker. We can see it.
Yeah.
You used plain paper. Okay, so based on what we're talking about, here's what I think is happening here. So the person on the stick figure that's outside the circle, I think that this is our grown-up self, the Joey's, and it's Joey's version of the grown-up version of him, because this is when like his hair grows out and he's really growing up. But the problem is, as he's grown up, what he does is he keeps putting the child version of him back into the washing machine. And he keeps being rinsed around and around and around and around in this same cycle. And then the outside him is like, why do I keep getting stuck in the cycle? I think I'm happy. That's why I'm smiling. But it's because I'm torturing the child inside, and that's where I'm at. What do you think, Brian?
I see.
You got another interpretation here?
Yeah. Well, the arrows are clearly the recycling sign.
Oh, I see.
right?
Uh-huh.
So we see that a lot, and basically that's the recycling negativity in Joey's life. Just like a whirlwind circling over and over. You can see that his mouth is open. He's like, right, in that
Yeah.
kind of position. Like there's stress. There's just complete and total stress. And then the best version of Joey, the most positive version of Joey's like, hey, I got you. He got a big smile on his face. His arms are open wide. He's like, you don't have to be in recycle mode. You don't have to be in recycled negativity. I got a smile here waiting for you. And my big muscular arms, like kind of sticky, but
So you think it's basically an anti-recycling ad?
yeah, a little bit of an anti-recycling ad. Yeah,
Like let's just throw away the trash.
yeah,
There's no real need to recycle.
yeah. It's a metaphor of life, really, is what it is. Yeah.
All right, Joey, what is the true interpretation of this terrible illustration?
Okay, so this guy is stuck in that whirlwind that you were talking about at the beginning of the show of the denial and all of that. He's stuck in there. And this is his buddy, and he's like, bro, why you stuck in the washing machine of all this negativity? You know, that's what I was thinking, washing machine, right?
Interesting.
And so his buddy's on the outside, and he's like, I can't do it for you. You got to jump. You got to jump out of that washing machine. And that's the illustration. Everyone.
So it was a washing machine?
It was actually a washing machine.
Hey!
What?
I just
I
can't.
can't believe you got that.
I can't
I
draw
can't
a washing
believe I got
machine.
that either.
Wow.
You know what's gonna happen? I'm gonna tell you guys something. Here's what's gonna happen. This segment here, Joey Sweeney's terrible illustrations. If he consistently does it, and we do that, he's gonna obviously get better and
Get better drawing. Yeah, 100%.
All right, I have a quote here from this is from Jack Canfield. It says, "Everything you want is on the other side of fear."
Hoo-hoo.
Everything you want is on the other side of fear. I completely agree with this. It's so important to face that fear. And then this other quote as well by Ariana Huffington. And this one I found very interesting, which was, "Fearlessness is like a muscle. I know from my own life that the more I exercise it, the more natural it becomes to not let my fears run me." And that is an idea where I believe in flexing that muscle. I believe in working that muscle, working out the idea of overcoming fear.
Yeah. Yeah.
That it's something that you ideally will start to get good at because you realize that the fear will always exist.
Yeah,
it doesn't go away.
Right. I talked about this to the students last night because we were talking about within the exercise we were doing, being watched and the nerves, right? And the right kind of nerves. Because I basically explained that we are still fearful every time we hit the stage. Every time we go to teach, like that fear, we talk about that a lot, is still there.
Bro, I said the same thing last night.
Really? Ha. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's that idea that like it's a constant, but once you realize it's there, then you can have more control over it. When you realize it's okay to be nervous, it means there's power. You just can't let the nerves win.
And fear pops up in so many ways, right? Besides just like the butterflies in the stomach, where else does it pop up? It pops up in like, I'm fearful of taking on a new relationship. I'm fearful of having a new friend group. I'm fearful of hiring a new employee. I'm fearful of success. I'm fearful of like all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And that manifests itself differently, like anxiety, stress, the gut feeling that you get where you just feel like gross.
Yeah.
You know, it comes different ways depending on the situation you're in.
Yeah, absolutely. So knowing that there's always fear, the only fearlessness I believe is through faith. That's the only fearlessness you can possibly have. And honestly, even that, you're supposed to fear God. But through fearing God, you can be weightless in that area. But in every other area of life, there's gonna be fear. Like I talked to Joey about this when we were talking about the car. And it's interesting because I had many of the same things happen, and I still do. And it's like, what's interesting is the more you progress, like the more things you have, the better you have to get at releasing and letting go.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you accumulate more fear.
Yep.
If you drive a nicer car, then essentially, if you haven't overcome that thing, you then become more scared of losing your car.
Yeah.
And the more fearful you are of losing your car, the more you think about, I'm going to lose my car, and then you're more likely to lose your car in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Yep.
100p. And it goes to back to dropping it, because I mean the first couple of days straight up I was having trouble sleeping, I was having nightmares, but then I would like hear the door open, I would hear like car like alarms go off in our parking lot because it's right next to our window.
Yeah.
And it just freaked me out. And I was like, I was never scared of that before. Like, I heard all of this stuff, but now I'm hearing it and it's like gut wrenching. And I'm like, somebody's trying to get in.
Well, that's what I was talking about. That's a trauma. It's a major trauma. And dude, sometimes I amaze me.
Oh, best
That's gonna be on loop.
Quote
That's
ever.
gonna be on loop.
Yeah.
What did I tell you, Joey? When you said like you saw the car and you couldn't even get in.
You said I was so handsome, and
That doesn't
just
sound
really
right.
lights up the screen.
Uh-huh.
No, that's not what he said. You said that next time if I get the opportunity, I should get in the car just
should
to
get in
look
the
at
car.
it, just to say thank you for what you've done for me.
And I'm not scared of
releasing
you.
I'm not scared.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I go, it is scary. Mm-hmm. But if you just face it, if you go ahead and get in, it's less scary than you think it is.
Yeah.
And it's like, did someone traumatize my car? Yes, they did. Mm-hmm. Yes, they did. Okay, I already know that. That's a known. Now, like, I've built something up in my head about it versus if I get in and I'm like, okay, I see what you did. I see you needed my car more than I did.
Yeah.
You were going through something, whoever you are, and I can pray for you. I can forgive you. You know, I can put myself in a position where, you know not what you do, and if and when it comes out who this person is, I can literally just forgive them. It doesn't mean that I'm like okay with it, and I think that you should do that to people, but that's something I can do. But I can face the fear. I'm not going to allow myself to create this thing in my mind that will keep me from sleeping. Mm-hmm. That will cause nightmares.
Yeah.
Forget that. I'm going to face it. I'm going to go and I'm going to go, I release you. I release you. I'm not scared of you. And thank you for the lesson.
Yeah.
I don't need any more of these lessons.
Yeah. It's interesting because I did exactly that. And right in the beginning of this, Brian was saying that good friend, mentor of his said that exact thing, like praying for the person, right?
Yeah.
And I tried, but it wasn't like from the heart because I was still hurt by it. And then last night, one of my friends reached out and just asked because they didn't know if I found it ever or not. And I was like, it's all right. I'm grateful to be able to walk to work and figure things out soon and replace it. Honestly, just been praying for the person who stole it to find God. Whatever they're going through must be hard.
Boom.
And the peace that gives you is beautiful because again, like a lot of people don't have what we have. Again, it's like
Bro, the peace that gives you, but the inspiration that gives the person you were texting, bro, like you could change somebody's life by a response like that. Because what happens is somebody reads that text and they go, what Wheaties is that guy eating? Because his response to losing his car is like powerful. And then he wants to eat the Wheatie. That's how you make people curious, bro. Good for you.
thanks, man. Dang, I didn't think of it that way.
Freaking
But
home
you're
runs.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, there literally might be someone in their life that they need to forgive.
Of course.
Like, and that just inspires them to do so. They've always wanted to, and now they feel like they can't.
Or they just want to overcome fear in general.
Sure.
Right? They want to let go of stuff, and they're like, how are you so free?
Yeah.
How could you lose your car and be talking about helping someone? Like, what?
Yeah, 100%.
what are you eating? And you're like, here, just take a look at this.
Peanut butter toast.
Peanut butter waffles, baby.
Einstein's bagels.
Oh, it's been a while.
Dude, I had peanut butter waffles the other day. So good. I want to end with this, and this is going to be a little bit of personal reflection, and it's connected to Brian. Actually, this is some shaming that I've done of Brian. I've shamed you because it comes back to cars.
He goes, oh.
Yeah, oh.
Oh.
Okay. So a circumstance happened. This is memories. A circumstance happened where Brian was driving my first car, favorite car at the time. It was a junker, honestly, but I loved it because I paid for it. Brian was driving it, and we got into an accident, and the car got totaled, and I lost the car. Same as Joey. I lost the car. Now, here's what's interesting. I was drinking alcohol with my friends, and Brian came and was a designated driver. Brian got rear-ended. And I repeated over and over again, you crashed my car. Mm-hmm. A, it was a lie. B, it's like shameful. And C, it's like, bro, where are you going to take accountability? It's your car. You put a 16-year-old behind the wheel who you know is not experienced at driving.
Right.
In the middle of the night.
In Phoenix.
Whose fault is this, right?
Yeah.
And I wanted to deflect. And I probably caused you shame and pain. There was probably trauma there. Here's what's interesting. Then later, you crashed a second one of my cars.
True.
Into another one of my cars.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was bad driving.
Okay? And it wasn't actually that bad. You barely touched it.
It's true. But,
you barely bumped into it. And I made a big thing about it. I did. And I joked because I thought it was funny. It is kind of funny, but
It's fine.
I was also doing it in a negative way. All right. Now you take all that, you add it all up, and I go, I wonder if Brian's afraid to drive my car. He probably is. Why? Because I've been shaming him.
yeah.
Right?
Sure.
And does Brian take care of his cars? No. Why? I don't know, but maybe it has something to do with the trauma that I caused him. And now Brian would need to heal from that if it's true, and I don't know that it is, but if it's true, and you go, oh wow, that's a memory that I have that I've built up that actually isn't even true. It's one of those 50% that it's not even accurate. But because someone's been telling me the same thing over and over again, it's like ingrained in my head, and I've just been telling myself this thing about myself that isn't true. I do deserve to have a nice car, and I am a good driver, and I don't need to be thinking that anymore. And it's funny, and I can laugh it off. I can change the narrative of it, and I don't have to feel shame anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ingrained in our head is a new.
Ingrained.
You said ingrained.
I know, and then I changed it.
But then
I
you
know,
fixed
but
it.
I'm saying I love the word.
Oh, inbrained.
Inbrained?
Yeah.
Embryoned.
Ingrained in my head.
I like that.
Good stuff, boys. Good stuff.
All right, so that's our show, everybody. I want you to exercise the fearlessness. Okay, so in this moment, even what did I just do?
Took
Admitted your own
accountability.
stuff.
I took accountability. Is that something that's hard? It is. It's pretty hard for me to talk about the fact that I might have traumatized you live on the show. Just bringing that up. That is a fear of mine, to be truthful about that thing.
Yeah.
But that's me facing my fear.
Yep.
Right? And what we do is we get good at that. We make that a reflection of who we want to be. And the more you rise it, you lift it up, let it out, lift it up, let it out, lift it up, let it out. And then you start to hold yourself accountable to these different things. And there's a way to heal, to help heal others through what you've maybe done or said or whatever. And then there's a way that you heal yourself as well through forgiveness. And you don't even have to talk to the person to forgive them. Like, you don't have to talk to this person who stole your car or even know who they are to forgive them.
Yeah.
You can just release it.
You can just release it. That's right. And the more you release it, the more interesting thing is that good things are going to come. Mm-hmm. And for whatever reason, all of a sudden, what we thought was impossible becomes possible.
Yeah.
And you watch, Joey's car is going to get paid for. You watch. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Through a sudden twist of fate.
Yep.
That's what's going to happen. And only when and because he's let go completely to the point that you've almost forgot about it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't own you anymore. And then all of a sudden it'll be, oh, surprise.
Surprise.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. 100p.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been the Mornings with Matt show. We sure appreciate you tuning in. God bless.
Thanks for listening to Mornings with Matt. Please like, subscribe, and follow us at Deering Acting Studio to keep up with the latest content. For more information on classes, private lessons, or professional development coaching, visit www.deeringstudio.com. Have a Deering day, everyone.
Have a chippy day, everyone. Rough.